Welcome back to The Explainer. So today we're unpacking a framework that is, honestly, an absolute game changer. We're diving right into Robert Kiyosaki's legendary Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Specifically, we're looking at the 10 critical financial lessons schools completely skipped over, and how mastering them can literally rewire your entire relationship with money and wealth. But hey, let's start with a question that might just turn everything you thought you knew about success totally upside down. Why is it that A students so often end up working for C students? I mean, think about it. It cuts right to the heart of this massive disconnect in our society. We've all been sold this traditional path, right? The idea that getting straight A's automatically guarantees financial success. But as you'll see, scholastic reality and financial reality, yeah, they are two completely different beasts. Okay, let's dive into this. We've got a 6-part curriculum today to get you out of the rat race. The financial education gap, rich dad versus poor dad, escaping the fear trap, assets versus liabilities, the cash flow quadrant, and finally, steps to financial freedom. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the financial education gap. So, here's the absolute foundational problem we're dealing with. Our school systems? They were basically designed from the ground up to produce really good, compliant employees, not financially literate employees. Now, schools are great at teaching scholastic and professional skills, absolutely, but they completely ignore financial skills. The crazy result of this is you have incredibly brilliant professionals. We're talking doctors, bankers, accountants, people who got top-tier grades, and they end up struggling financially for their entire lives. Why? Because they learned how to work for money, but literally no one ever taught them how to have money work for them.
Moving right along to Section 2, Rich Dad versus Poor Dad.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how perfectly it contrasts two radically different ways of looking at life and money. It really agitates that deeply familiar fear of living paycheck to paycheck, doesn't it? Look at the sheer contrast in advice here. On the one side, we have the poor dad. Now, he was highly educated, a government official, but he struggled financially. His advice was traditional, very fear-based. Go to school, get a good job, save money. But then on the other side, we have the rich dad. He was uneducated in the traditional sense, but incredibly wealthy. And his advice? Go to school, graduate, build businesses, become an investor. It's just a completely different universe when it comes to building wealth.
And that brings us to Section 3, escaping the fear trap.
So there's this incredible, formative story from when Robert was just 9 years old. He asked his rich dad to teach him how to make money, and instead of just giving him a boring lecture, his rich dad put him to work in one of his convenience stores for, get this, a measly 10 cents an hour. Now, obviously, Robert got angry eventually. He felt totally exploited and wanted to quit. But Rich Dad explained, hey, this is a taste of real life. Because life doesn't just sit down and talk to you, it pushes you around. And most people just let the emotions of fear, that gut-wrenching fear of not being able to pay the bills, along with desire, just totally dictate their lives. They get mad at their boss for the low pay, they completely miss the lesson, and they end up trapped in this endless cycle, just crossing their fingers that a bigger paycheck will magically fix everything.
Listen closely to this because it is absolutely profound. The poor and the middle class work for money. The rich have money work for them. Rich Dad explained that actual, true learning requires energy, passion, and just a burning desire. If you let fear be your driver, you're always going to play it safe. You'll literally remain a slave to money. Escaping the trap means you have to actively choose to master the power of money instead of being terrified of it.
All right, let's jump to Section 4, Assets versus Liabilities.
So the crucial point is this. If you want to get out of the rat race, this is rule number 1. Actually, scratch that. It's pretty much the only rule you need. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. I know it sounds absurdly simple, doesn't it? But Rich Dad insisted on teaching this in simple terms because most financial professionals, accountants, they just completely overcomplicate the whole shebang. If you want to be rich long-term, you absolutely must know this difference.
And here's where we hit a nerve for a lot of people. The poor and middle class constantly acquire liabilities that they falsely believe are assets. The perfect example? That deeply ingrained societal myth that your primary house is always an asset. But when you look at the actual flow of money, a house usually takes money out of your pocket. You've got the mortgage, taxes, constant maintenance. True wealth only comes from acquiring real assets, things that actually put cash in your pocket month after month.
Building on that thought, let's explore Section 5, the cash flow quadrant.
And this brilliantly illustrates the 4 types of people in the world of money. Over on the left side, we've got E for employee and S for self-employed. Now, Poor Dad really wanted Robert to be here, hyper-focused on getting a steady paycheck and job security. But look at the right side. We have B for business owner and I for investor. That is where Rich Dad lived. True wealth is built by fundamentally shifting your mindset and your money from that left side all the way over to the right.
Because to succeed on that right side, you've got to totally shift your focus. See, ordinary earned income, the money you trade your time for at a 9-to-5 job, that is the hardest money to build wealth with. Why? Because it's taxed the highest and it requires your constant physical time. The wealthy, they focus on passive and portfolio income. That's money working for you. Learning how to actually acquire and protect those specific types of income is the absolute key to building massive wealth.
Let's transition over to our final part, Section 6, Steps to Financial Freedom.
All right. Bringing this all together, I want to rapid-fire some actionable steps you can use to take control of your financial destiny right now. First up, mind your own business. Seriously, don't just spend your whole life working for the company's owner or the bank. Build your own column of assets. Second, work to learn, don't just work for money. Seek out new skills, be a sponge. Third, pay yourself first. This is all about raw self-discipline. You are never going to get rich if you blow every single raise on a new liability. And finally, teach and you shall receive. The wealthiest families on earth know that sharing money and knowledge is a vital, non-negotiable part of the wealth-building ecosystem.
So, why does all this matter for you? Well, because financial struggle is so often the direct result of just working your entire life for someone else. Think about it. If you just work for money, you are essentially handing over all your power to your employer and to the government through taxes. But when you learn how to make money work for you, you keep the power. You get to control your own destiny instead of just letting the world push you around.
I want to leave you today with this really powerful thought from this explainer. Broke is temporary. Poor is eternal. See, being broke, that's just a temporary financial state. But being poor, that is a mindset. Every single day, with every dollar that hits your bank account, you are making a choice. Spend it foolishly, and you're essentially choosing to be poor. But invest it in your mind, learn how to acquire real assets, and you are choosing wealth. The choice is entirely 100% yours. So, what are you going to choose today?